We now have Labour Party candidates using interpreters to speak to their potential voters.
The battle now starts and we're going to go out there and knock on every single door and make sure we get support for Labour and send Rishi Sunak a clear message. Enough is enough.
जी मुझे भी बहुत खुशी है कि अजहर अली हमारा जो भाई है यहाँ सिलेक्ट हुआ है राष्ट्रीय में लेबर पार्टी की तरफ से। अजहर एक बहुत ही तजर्बाकार सियासतदान है जो हमारी
Translators to speak to voters, Islamic prayers at council meetings, frantic attempts to get the British Muslim vote back for Labour. Has integration completely failed? But let's get the thoughts of my panel.
Piece for the Daily Mail saying that multiculturalism has failed. Multiculturalism is actually not integration, it's the very opposite of that. It's pockets of different cultures living their own separate identities. Multiculturalism has failed, I believe, in this country. And even though we live in a multicultural society, which is different, which means there's lots of cultures within this society, in my view, this is an example of its failure. And the reason I say this is because if you are in a predominantly British, English-speaking country and you have to then speak a different language, which is likely to be the prevailing language by the sounds of it, within that population there, then that is an indication that a lot of people who have come to the country have not integrated, have not even bothered to learn English.
In the 70s, a large Pakistani immigrants came over at request of the British government to fill labour gaps. A lot of them couldn't speak English, which has created...
I totally agree that when it comes to integration, we're not seeing enough. In my own constituency, there are pockets of communities which are predominantly Pakistani, Kashmiri, and other parts which are predominantly white working class British, and there has been a failure to properly integrate communities. Today, the French have much stricter rules when it comes to being able to speak their language if you are seeking to stay there permanently. Otherwise, you are at risk of being deported from and having your visa revoked. I certainly, and the New Conservatives have made it very clear in our immigration plan that anything going forward, the Prime Minister must make it clear that regardless of what profession you're going to go into, you must meet a higher threshold in the ability to speak in the English language, because otherwise these barriers will never be broken down.
Do you think to have proper integration and also for people to assimilate to the culture that they've arrived in? A lot of these countries where some of these people come from, you couldn't do that there. You know what I mean? You couldn't instill your own thing there. So I just think, you know, you've come, when in Rome, do as the Romans. That's just my view. But I do believe you keep your cultural identity, but at least integrate.
You know, so as if you're going to then tap into all of our public services over here, maybe there should be more of a focus.
Oh, look, Patrick, you've hit the nail on the head here. Look, I've worked in education before I became a Member of Parliament, and I've got schools in Stoke-on-Trent that have got a whole variety of teaching assistants simply to act as translators between the teacher and the pupil. That's a huge financial strain on the school, and not including all the children equally at the same way when it comes to trying to gain that education that is so vital if you're really going to transform the lives of young people up and down our country. So, and the strain on the NHS, the cost to our police force is totally unacceptable. You are correct. If you're going to live in another country, you need to assimilate, and that means being able to speak at the very least and understand
such a
the English
demand
language. If people are choosing, and it is their choice to come here, then therefore they should expect to meet the standards that we would expect if we were moving to their country to be able to interact with their public services.